Welcome back. It's the big exam, the big test for the Modi government, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself put it. Are they going to come out in flying colours? What's in store in the budget? We'll find out in exactly an hour and a half from now. But the Sensex has just slipped into green territory. It was in the red after opening, but is now trading almost flat with 11 points in the green. It's important that we've seen that sea of green out there. Important clearly to send that signal about what. But Nifty is in the red and it's just gone into green as we speak. So slipping in and out of red and green is what the Nifty is doing right now. So trading absolutely flat, but above that crucial 7,000 mark, and that remains critical. Let's go straight across to our guests to get a sense of whether Arun Jaitley can make market watchers, farmers, the middle class, everyone happy today. It is a tough task ahead of him. Mohandas Pai, if I could come to you first. It is a range of expectations. Every year we talk about it. It's almost a sense of deja vu. But what, according to you, makes this budget absolutely critical?
I think this budget is critical for many reasons. First of all, the figures for fiscal 16, the budget for 16. For the first time in 5 years, we'll see the revised estimate higher than the budgeted estimate. It means the last 5 years we got budgets where revenues were inflated, the expenditure didn't happen and they had to cut. This year we'll see a sea change, and that means this year we'll have a honest budget for fiscal 2016 as against make-believe budget for the last 5 years. That is a good thing to do. That means the government is in control of the fisc. And for the fiscal 17 budget, I would expect that the focus will be on farmers because there is distress, greater investment in irrigation, crop insurance, social security for farmers, and greater investment in agriculture research to improve productivity. The PM has said he'll increase farm income by 50%, and that can only happen by productivity. And we have election coming up in 2019, so I think that will be the focus. Focus on infrastructure, roads. We already seen the railway budget have a higher budget. And then a little bit on the middle class to the extent that we get an increase in the slab from 2.5 lakhs to 3 lakhs, reduction in corporate rates, doing away with some exemption to make it revenue neutral. The revenue is going up by 17 to 18%, and subsidies being more targeted. LPG between the market LPG for consumers and the commercial, I think the gap is 30% is being misused. That has to be brought down. Right. And possibly kerosene going to DBT, with the UPA tried to do. I think some very good things will come out. It will be positive. From the stock market side, I think capital gains for private companies will come down from 20 to 10% because the disparity is too high. And I think they probably will increase the STT on derivatives so that the speculation in the market could come down. And overall stability, focus on infrastructure, focus on farmers, focus on the social sector. This is my expectation.
Let's break it all down.
3.5% fiscal deficit.
Sorry? What did you say? I missed the number for the
3.5% fiscal deficit.
3.5% fiscal deficit. But Mr. Pai, you've really put the whole thing in perspective, and yet given a fiscal deficit number that makes it almost impossible to achieve given what is expected. Mr. Bhide, would you agree?
If I might no, it's possible. I'll tell you why.
Okay, we're going to get a former Revenue Secretary, P.V. Bhide, to answer whether he can do all of that and still stick to that fiscal deficit number. Mr. Bhide.
I'll just raise a few. Give me a little time this time. This is the last opportunity for a brave budget and a big reform budget, which also presumes that you must lay focus on governance much more than populism. And that's where the whole gamut lies. Now, we are talking about increasing the income tax exemption limits. I think you have to realize that when you raise the bar, a lot of revenue goes out of the kitty. So if you're looking at a higher revenue dispensation, you're not going to get it by just raising those exemptions. So something will have to give. Now, even for the middle class, maybe you'll give up your savings on NSS or small savings. Incidentally, small savings is a net loss for the government always. And if you increase by 40 or 50,000 the exemption limit, there's no harm in taking away that 10,000, number one. Number two, for a long time, I felt there's no justification for differentiating between short-term and long-term capital gains.
Okay.
But India is the only country where we have huge...
Vivek, would you like to comment on that? Would that be a dampener then?
Well, I think in the short term, it will be a dampener. Conceptually, I agree with Mr. Bhide, and I've said this before, that capital gains, long-term and short-term, various The boxes that we create for income are perhaps not necessary to create. We can have one simple large box where income is conceptually taxed at the same rate. We should have a good neutral rate. 25% is a good neutral rate. So we should strive to get to that rate and not create characterization issues in the way that income is treated long term. Short term, whether this is the right time for the government to do this or not, I may have a different view from Mr. Bide.
Okay.
But long term, yes, conceptually, absolutely.
Okay, but between the two of you, if I could get one answer, which is, where is he going to get his money from? Because look at the long list of expenses that he has, whether it is pay commission, or it's the bank capitalization, or it's the higher spending on social sector schemes, the pressure to invest on infrastructure, all of that. Where is he getting his money from then? And at a time when it's a slowing economy, corporate profitability is going down.
So therefore, there has to be a stimulus for industrial growth. Your IPP figures have been very dismal.
Right.
And the fact, I'm sitting on a few boards and I'm seeing there's really no increase.
And that's the important point, Vivek, because what we're seeing being talked about in this budget, I'll come to Tom and Gopal on that, is this whole focus on rural infrastructure, but you know, and whether public spending should happen or not. Nobody's even talking about private sector and fueling that part of the, and if he misses that piece, then it's a big dampener.
The government can influence industrial outcomes somewhat, but they would also
Can I give an answer?
They would also depend industry reacts in response to global stimulus, etc. It's a larger, it's a fit in a larger economy. To me, what I would like to see is actual attempts to tap non-tax revenue.
Okay.
There are innovative revenue sources, innovative receipt sources that must be tapped by this government.
Okay.
Strategic disinvestments. I hear this whole thing about. I hear this whole thing about banks not going below, government not going below 51% in banks. Why? There should be no opposition to that. With the current, and Ms. Mohandas Pai will agree, with the current ability of technology, why can't we have strong tax analytics where we don't just come out with schemes for foreign money? We should have schemes to tap domestic money. And the government has a whole host of data there.
Let me go across now quickly to, in fact, those images that you're seeing on your screen are live images that we're bringing to you of Finance Minister Arun Jaitley leaving the President's house after meeting with President Pranab Mukherjee, now making his way for the cabinet meeting before, of course, he reaches the Parliament at 11 o'clock for making that all-important budget speech. I'm going to go across now to Tom Vadakan and Gopal Krishna to understand what's the big headline we're going to get out of today's budget. You know, every time we like to put adjectives to describe a budget. Gopal Krishna, we would like to get a sense of what is the one thing that we will hear Finance Minister Arun Jaitley focus on immensely. Gopal Krishna, will it be a please-all budget, something for everyone, or will it be a budget focused excessively on the rural space, trying to tackle that, or will it be a growth-oriented budget? What's the one thing you think we will hear him say the most in the budget speech today?
What I think is that the railway budget and the economic survey has laid down the roadmap. This year the budget will do what it is expected to do. Budget is to look after the health of the economy and improve the economy and tackle the sectors which need the help of the budget allocation. It will not be like the Chidambaram way where data was manipulated to increase the revenue and later on that revenue figures were revised. So I think budget will be very focused. The focus areas have been clearly earmarked: agriculture, rural sector. Lot of things have been done in the infrastructure in the rural sector. You see the allocation to the rural road building has increased manifold, and you will see further increase on these sectors where lot more expenditure has been done. There has been a question that where the revenue will come. The economic survey has said that there are leakages in the subsidy and the benefit transfer to the poor, where they were not targeted properly, and even the rich people were getting the benefit of those subsidies. Those will be plugged and lot of revenue will be generated from them. Even from PSU disinvestment there is a good target, and I think there will be a prudent expenditure and the unlocking of the many projects. Around 42 projects which were just were stalemated because of various permissions or various negotiation structures and various leakages or corruptions, non-transparent in the allocation of many resources.
Right.
All these issues, have been taken care of. Agriculture sector will be focused, employment generation will see focus, whether it is allocation through Mudra Bank, credit availability to the startups, stand-ups, and insurance scheme for the agriculture sector.
Okay, let me take all that to...
allocations will be there in the budget, I think.
Okay, a lot of allocations, Tom Varakan. You just heard PV Viray tell us that this is the one time, the last opportunity for them to come out with a brave, bold budget. Now, a lot of the measures that are being suggested are in some ways incremental, and which may not be a bad idea to just go ahead, as Vivek was telling us earlier in the day, and implement some of the things you've announced, because that itself will help propel growth. But the biggest dilemma right now, of course, is on one hand pressure to increase public spending, which obviously, sends your fiscal deficit in a tizzy. On the other hand, we don't seem to be seeing enough talk about fueling private investment, and how are you going to get the private sector to come and invest, because till that doesn't happen, your jobs don't get created. In fact, I'll just come to you for a moment, in a moment, Tom Varakan. Let's cut across to those live images of Arun Jaitley reaching Parliament. There you've got Arun Jaitley, of course, followed closely